Hello, this is a Living Korea by Vincent Song. What if one of the Korea's most beautiful coastal trails is also quietly asking one of the world's most urgent questions? I came to walk Haeparang Trail Course 20, expecting blue water, sea breeze, and the simple joy of the following Korea's east to sea. And yes, it was beautiful. But the longer I walked, the more one strange question followed me. Why does such a beautiful road look like it is preparing for something? Why the massive sea walls? Why the endless tetrapoles? Why did this peaceful coastline feel defensive? I thought I was here to enjoy the sea. Instead, I may have been walking through a warning. Haeparang Trail is often introduced as the scenic walking route, a breathtaking coastal path stretching along the Korea's eastern shoreline, where the mountains, villages, and sea meet in harmony. But on Coast 20th, walking from Yeongdeok Sunrise Park down to Ganggu Port, I began to notice something beyond beauty. At first, it was subtle. The sea sparkled, fishing villages beyond breathed quietly inside the road. Wave broke with cinematic perfection. But then the walls. Long sea walls, elevated concrete barriers, massive tetrapoles stacked not once, but often in multiple defensive layers. It looks like accidental. It looks prepared. Prepared for force, prepared for impact, prepared for a sea that may not always stay where it is. And that question matters because globally, sea levels are rising. According to the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, global mean sea level could rise by approximately 0.63 to over 1 meter by 2100 under high emission scenarios. That number may sound abstract until you understand what it means. Sea level rise not only more water, it means storm surges reach further. It means road flood more easily. It means seawater can infiltrate farmland. It means coastal homes, ports, and entire communities become more vulnerable. And the courses are deeply scientific, but terrifyingly logical. First, thermal expansion. The ocean absorbs more than 90% of excess heat trapped by greenhouse gases. As water warms, it expands. Second, land rise melt. Greenland's ice sheet alone contains enough frozen water to raise the global sea level by about 7 meters if fully melted. Antarctica holds roughly 15 meters more. To be clear, this is not over 2,100 prediction, but if it reveals the scale of what is physically stored in Earth's ice systems. What scientists fear most is not the overnight catastrophe, but irreversible acceleration. But once the warning crosses certain thresholds, part of these systems may become increasingly unstable. And here is where the place like Korea matters. South Korea is a maritime nation. Its coastline are not remote edges. They are deeply populated economic arteries. Incheon, Busan, Jeju, Pohang, Yeongdeok. These are not just tourist destinations. They are homes, ports, food systems, cultural memory. A higher sea level combined with typhoons and storms surges means what was once a rare coastal event can become a more frequent and expensive threat. During my work, I later asked the local taxi driver, "Does seawater ever come over the road?" He looked at me with surprise. "How did you know that?" Then he told me that during the powerful waves event, water had crossed the coastal road and flooded nearby homes. Suddenly, those seawords were no longer visible background. They were testimony. Climate change often feels distant because we imagine it in a melting glacier or a burning forest somewhere else. But perhaps one of the clearest ways to understand it is to walk quietly beside the sea and notice what local people have already built to resist it. Sea level rise may be one of the slowest moving climate threats, but that may also make it one of the most dangerous. Because slow change is easy to ignore until the infrastructure, insurance, agriculture, fisheries, and daily life all begin adjusting around it. The ocean is not only where the climate change is visible, it is where climate change is stored. And perhaps that is why this work felt so powerful. I came looking for scenery, but I found evidence. Yet Haeparang Trail is not a story of the fear alone, because between sea walls and climate questions, life continues beautifully. This is what makes the trail unforgettable. Here, seaweed dries in front of a yacht like laundry of the ocean. Fish hangs beneath sunlight and salt air beneath, and hands wash, salt, and prepare the sea mustard root, not as a nostalgia, but as an economy. This coastline is not a museum. It is lived, and that matters. Walking here means seeing that the Korea's coastal culture is not only found in the major cities or tourist brochures, it lives in the ordinary labor. Women gathered around the sea produced with the practiced rhythm. Neighbors moved with a quiet familiarity. Homes paced with the sea not decoratively, but historically. And then there are flowers. Rugosa rose, Haeparang, appearing unexpectedly beside the sea breeze as if the coastline itself wanted to soften its own salt-edged realism. They did not dominate the landscape, they greeted. And foreign riders, especially women travelers carrying the packages northwards, added another layer. For them, perhaps this trail was fitness, adventure, Korean discovery, personal challenge. Watching them, I realized Haeparang Trail is not just a Korean walking path. It is a cultural corridor. And then, perhaps my favorite discovery, pension names. One guest house carried a grand, almost mystical sign. Another translates roughly into something unforgettable and hilariously humble. If Korea has mastered anything, it may be the coexistence of sincerity and accidental comedy. On this trail, dignity and humor walk together. They may be one of the Korea's greatest charms. And then comes one of the Haeparang's greatest pleasure, lunch. Not luxury, not trend, but regional truth. To walk beside the East Sea and then sit down to grilled local fish, seaweed, anchovy side dishes, and ocean-borne soup is to understand something essential. This trail is not just near the sea, it is fed by it. The fish is not the abstract seafood. It is place-specific, seasonal, cultural. Seaweed is not garnish. It is livelihood. Eating here becomes more than refueling. It becomes participation in coastal ecology. You are not simply hiking. You are tasting the geography. And then Ganggu Port. If a Haeparang Trail asks question, Ganggu answers with energy. This is where walking meets commerce. Crab sign rise boldly. Restaurant line the streets. Work tanks simmer. Tourism and livelihood merging. Ganggu is famous for snow crab, yes. But more than that, it is a portrait of regional economy resilience. Even local taxi driver says difficult economies do not hit here the same way. Why? Because when a place becomes synonymous with something culturally powerful, in this case, Yeongdeok crabs, it builds identity beyond scenery. Of course, crab pricing can be inspired caution. My own family once experienced the universal tourist payer, paying far more than expected. So this time we observe rather than indulge. And strangely, that may have revealed even more. Without the distraction of consumption, I noticed voice, rhythm, signage, streeters, performance. Markets are theaters. And the Ganggu stage is deliciously Korean, part of shift for the economy, part travel spectacle, part genuine local pride. Nearby parks offered reclining benches, facing sea and skies, human-centered design that felt refreshingly thoughtful. Ganggu was not merely selling seafood, it was presenting coastal life. And perhaps that is what made this journey so meaningful. Haeparang Trail was never just a walk. It was climate science, lunch, flowers, humor, labor, warning, and market life stitched together by one coastal line. A road can be beautiful, but sometimes the most unforgettable roads are the ones that make you think.